So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the waters and see if this layer matches this layer over here, if it agrees. I'm going to see if it fits flush, if any of these sides fit flush, and it looks like this side is the closest to being okay. Now, it looks like it's close to being okay, but it's not completely okay, is it? I mean, look at this. There's a little bit of an overhanging edge over here. Now, at first blush, I'm tempted to just ignore it, because everything here is fitting okay. You know, I can sort of put that in here. So maybe it's not a perfect square, maybe it's not a perfect cube, but I remember what it looks like when it was solved. It was pretty solid. This doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense. So what exactly happened? Do I have the wrong edge in? Well, everything seems to be spick and span over here, but it almost looks like this is tapered down over here. So this is actually not really correct. But what if I were to move on and see what happens from here? So I'm going to move on. I'm going to ignore this foolhardily and walk into the trap of what's going to happen. Now, normally I would not have walked into this trap because I would have noticed this and I would have taken the right evasive actions with this. But let's just keep going and see what happens. So all these edges are where they're supposed to be. Now this is the last layer, the payoff layer of the mods, the challenging layer. Normally what I would do is I would take the center. Let's go ahead and skew this, prime this here so that we can move our puzzle. And I would correlate it and put it in with the proper orientation with other centers. But I can't do that, so once again, I had to do this in a vacuum, this in a vacuum, and this in a vacuum. So I have to rotate these in the proper way. Well, how do I know which is rotated and which is not rotated? Again, normally what I would do with most of the mods is I would move this into its corresponding centers to see if it fits flush. Can't do that with this one. So I have to kind of reason my way through it a little bit and say that this I think is right side up because it's angled up pretty high. And this is going to be over here where it needs to be angled up. Now maybe it's angled up a little too high. It's hard to tell. Worst comes to worst, what I could do is I can hold it here and do the algorithm that rotates these guys, but not this one. That's the one that if I wanted to keep, say, this here and put in the proper edges, here, let's actually get this back here. Anyway, rotate the proper edges here to keep this here. I can rotate these edges by going R, U, R, I, U, R, to U, R, I. This stayed the same. These all got rotated. So I could prove to myself if this is upside down or not by holding it like this, which will rotate this eventually to here. Let's see what happens. R, U, R, I, U, R, to U, R, I. Do it again. U, R, I, U, R, to U, R, I. And as you can see, this is right side up, so I just prove that to myself. So right side up, this, well, this tapered edge here, this angulated edge correlates with this, so I know this is upside down. So right side up, upside down. And what about these guys? Well, that's kind of hard to say too, if this is right side up or upside down. Now I could just go ahead and do the same thing, hold it here until one of these guys moves to where it's supposed to be. This obviously, no, it could be upside down, it could be right side up. But if it's going to fit into here, you're not going to have an overhanging edge over here because this is straight, so it's going to be these guys. And actually, I guess we could say that this must be upside down, and this must be upside down. So we have right side up, upside down, and upside down. We have ourselves an impossible situation. You can't have 3 in one direction and 1 in another direction. Whether it's 3 that are right side up and 1 that's upside down, or 3 upside down and 1 right side up. That you're going to get with the 4x4, which means we have apparent parity of our edges. What that basically means, as we've talked about in other tutorials, when you get a situation like this with a mod, first have the faith this is a 3x3. Parity problems will not exist, okay? Because it's an odd-numbered puzzle. You're doing odd-numbered type algorithms to get through it, so you should not get parity with that, which means we misplaced something. We did a fallacy of false equivocation, which means that one rotation looked exactly like the other one, but the puzzle didn't agree. This comes back to what we found here, which I conveniently ignored. comes back to here, where everything seemed in except this. This is the culprit. So if you ever get this puzzle and you see that situation, don't accept this. Because in actuality, you have two sides here that can both coordinate with the center sides over here. This can be rotated. And when it's rotated, it'll still fit flush with both of these because they're both straight edges over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this around. And even if you didn't know that, you could identify one of these pieces are rotated wrong because you have apparent edge parity. So we'll just hold this here, and let's rotate this around. Bang, bang, zoom, zoom, pow, splat, kerplunk, plop. So where is it? It's over here. So now we're going to bring it all the way around, and now we're going to put this in on this side, which is exactly upside down from where it was before. And let's see where the sparks fly. And down. Now notice, this piece didn't really care. It felt completely flush on both sides, but now look what happens when we bring it to the cube form. We lost that overhanging edge. This makes a lot more sense. So this is just to demonstrate, if you ever get into that situation, don't accept a puzzle that's not completely flush with all the pieces. You're going to end up with this kind of parity if you're not careful. So now with that fixed, we can have the faith that everything is going to be fine. Right side up, this is upside down. This, with the overhanging edge over here, is right side up. Therefore, this must be upside down. I can tell that it is upside down because you have an overhanging edge over here. Gotta find that sticker. Anyway, so right side up, upside down, upside down. So we have ourselves the line. Here's what I mean by line. You can have an L, or you can have a line. This is the L. If you get the L, as you recall, you hold it here to where your L is facing this way, and in front of you is one that's upside down and upside down. Here you can easily spot them as being upside down. And you do F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. That'll get you the line, and then F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I, and they're all going to be right. Exactly the same thing here. Right side up, holding it here with these two at either side. One use of that algorithm will put everything, we'll basically put everything right side up. So F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I, and it's all right side up. Or is it? Let's take a look at this. This doesn't look quite right. I've got 2 in and 2 out. What this means to me is I think I was incorrect in my thoughts about placement, because you can't have a situation like this. You can only have 1 in and 1 in the proper center and 3 that are out. Which means I'm going to say this is actually the line and these are upside down. So let's go ahead and do it again. I thought that this was right side up, but I think I was incorrect about that. So F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. So this looks a little more like it. Okay, yeah, so here's what my mistake was. I assumed this went over here. It actually doesn't. This comes over here, and this, with its sloping lines, comes over here. So that was my mistake. There's actually 2 areas. This over here has kind of a point over here. This edge here is not straight, like this. This actually comes down like this. This is straight. So that means this comes over here, this comes over here, and this, not being straight, comes over here. So that was my mistake. I assumed this was upside down. So it's easy to walk into that trap. So now this makes sense. So now this is coordinated here, and I'll just 3 cycle these around. R, U, R, I, U, R, 2, U, R, I. Now the astute members here probably saw that and was screaming at your screen saying, no, you're wrong. It's not like this edge where you have straight and straight, the center rather. This center has straight and curved. So these overhanging edges actually had to be right side up, because actually both of these have overhanging edges. Both of these have an angulated side over here. So live and learn. R, U, R, I, U, R, 2u, ri, and we got it. So now we have our crossover here. So if something doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't make sense. But bear in mind, if you didn't make a mistake with parity or placement, then just have faith that that's not what did it and try to look at it. But you can see I tried to correlate these two by saying that it's the flat areas that were right side up just like here, but it was really the overhanging ones. Now if I memorized that at first, I wouldn't have walked into that, but no harm done, managed to figure it out. So now that this is in, it's a question of corners. So with corner placement, it's again kind of difficult to decide where each one goes. Does this go here? Well, this looks like it probably, if this does go here, it should be rotated here, but it doesn't look like, I mean, it looks like it's angulated here. I think a wedge is supposed to go into here, so this is wrong. This looks like a triangle belongs over here, so I think this is wrong. This looks angulated like a wedge, so I don't know if this wedge goes here or not. It's smaller than, well, it's close to the same size. This one appears to be tapered a little bit, and then you've got this, which obviously doesn't go here. So how are we going to guide our way through this? Well, what you could do is, if nothing appears to be where it's supposed to be, like I don't think any of these appear, I don't see how we can angulate these in, we could look down here and see that the two wedges form a solid side over here, and then you've got the two triangles that kind of point opposite each other. And regarding the trapezoidal centers, it appears that I think it's reasonable to think that the triangles are facing, if you look at it, the triangles are, the base of the triangles are at the smaller ends of the trapezoids, just based on the structure. So looking at the trapezoids, the triangles probably go here because these are the smaller ends. Now you can tell I haven't memorized how to do this because, well, what fun is that? So therefore, two triangles belong over here. You got a triangle over here, maybe this is where it's supposed to be. Rather than assume that, let's see if it is, because it is the bigger triangle, this is the smaller one, this is the bigger silhouette, this is the smaller silhouette. What you can do is start doing the steps that you would normally do at the end, which would be over here. If you had everything in, this is in over here. Remember there was the point where you do the RI, DI, RD. Well, let's say I wanted to roll this in, but it's incorrect. RI, DI, RD, RI, DI, RD, RI, DI, RD, RI, DI, RD, and uh-oh, you were wrong. Well, just keep doing it over and over again. The good thing about an algorithm is eventually, if you do it enough, you'll get it right back where you were. So it's not going to hurt if I do that and put this in to see if it's where it's supposed to be. If it is, great, I know that it is. I'll do the algorithm until I get this side back. If it's not, that's okay too. I'll get it back, live and learn. So we'll do RI, DI, RD, RI, DI, RD. Do it again. And once more I think RD. So this is correct. I don't know if these are, so I'm going to keep doing the algorithm until I get my side back here, but at least I know now. No guesswork is involved, and because we understand what algorithms are and what they do, I do this enough times without destroying the puzzle, and I got it back. So no harm done. So this is correct, which means this is not correct because this has to be here, and these two aren't correct either. So in order to put this in place, it's going to be just like here. This is correct, and none of these are. Hold it over here to where the correct one is on the right side, and do the algorithm U, R, U, I, L, I, U, R, I, U, I, L. And you keep doing that until these guys are all back. So now you can see if at least two are in, these are all in over here. And then you finish up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this side to the right and do that exact same algorithm until this triangle is over here. Once it's over there, I know that it's correct because I know that this is the small end of the trapezoid which will take the triangle. This is the small end of this trapezoid which will take this triangle. Besides, it's got to be right next to it, and this is not the right place right next to it. It's got to be on the other trapezoid. So turn, 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 bang, bang, zoom, pow. All right, now I know these are coordinated right because number one, the triangle is where it's supposed to be, and number two, this is in and it's flush. I have exactly the same situation, well, not exactly, but I got the same situation as here. So now I know they're all in. This is rotated correct. I just have to rotate these in, just like with this one by doing the RI, DI, RD, RI, DI, RD. This is correct. Move the next one in. And through the magic of algorithms, through the magic of math and patterns, this will solve this cube. And what's good for this cube is good for this one. Let's not lose our perspective. And I'm just going to keep rotating these in exactly the same way. I don't have colors to help me through this. So what I'm going to do is do this until the shape makes sense, until it's nice and symmetric, even if I lose track because I talk too much. Okay, so that's in. Turn this over here. Turn, 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 turn. Bang, bang. Zoom, zoom. Pow, pow. Splat, kerplop. This is in. And lastly, we've got this. Turn, 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 turn. Now what this shows is even if solving a cube, you can isolate all layers and get to your solve. This is now all in. Turn this now for the final turn to get the cube back, and you have yourself a solved ghost cube. You have conquered your fear of the night, fear of the dark, and you have banished the demons and tamed the ghost cube. Exercised it as you will, and solve the ghost cube. So very fun puzzle, very fun mod. My hope is that someday this will be mass produced for everybody to enjoy, but until then, if you have yourself one of these guys, that's my way of doing it. Thanks for watching.